Today I'm going to show you how to use tooling foil. It's a project I do with my 5th grade class in art, and this is the tooling foil. It's a 36 gauge foil, so it's definitely a little harder than a regular aluminum foil. One of the first things I'll have them do is to do a sketch and think about what they're going to be embossing. This happens to be a family shield, a family crest that we're creating. They're symbolizing and representing their family by different symbols that they're putting on their shield. So one thing about embossing on this type of material is that you cannot have a lot of different details, which I'm usually telling the students to put more details in their work. This happens to be the opposite, where you're adding, you're subtracting some of the details. So whatever you're drawing has to be kind of large. There can't be really small spaces. I have them take something and just make the essential lines. Since we're going to be embossing, which means to raise up the surface, we're going to need a soft surface to work on. When you emboss something, it is not going to work on a hard surface. So taking something like a piece of felt, we also use scraps of remnants of cloth. So whatever kind of thing you have will work for this. Your design is going to be put down on top of your tooling foil. So you're going to have your soft surface, your tooling foil, and then your design. When you're doing this, make sure that you have you secure down your design to your tooling foil with some tape. That's all it needs for this. And I am using a pencil because I think the pencils are the best tools. And if it's a wood pencil, there are some tools that you could use possibly, but I like the pencil because you can see where you went over rather than a line being just pushed in without any mark besides the indentation. So I'm just going to work with this by pushing down. And I'm not pushing really hard. I'm putting a little pressure on this. And I do want to make sure that I get all the lines. The one thing is you can flip this over on the back. So you just make sure that your tape is securely down. Okay, now if I flip it over, I should be able to see on the back before I actually take anything off. You can feel that the surface is raised up. Okay. Now I do have them right on the front of their piece. What is the front? And normally what I would have is an entire piece of tooling foil behind your design. So the whole design would be filled in. And it would, of course, be complete and all done. This is an example. They would have their name on it and the word front. Now, your name would be backwards if it was not the front of the piece, although I think that this helps. The word front is printed forward. They get confused about which side to pop out. So what you would do now is, again, you can emboss the word front on it, and you flip this right over on the back. Now these areas, it's only the area that you have your design in. So you're not going to press out any area that is a background space. So we don't do this. This is an area that we can do. So if it's a shape or a space, that is an area that we can do. There's several different tools. There are some that just kind of have a rounded end like this. There's some that have a pointed end, and I wouldn't use this on the back at all. And there's a couple that have like a curved edge, if you can see that. And these are some of my favorite ones right here. There's also one that has a square edge, which is kind of nice for things that are square. No, this is not a square object, so I am going to use this one here. So basically, I'm on top of the felt, and I can take this right off, and I'm on the back. So I'm pressing and popping out that image on the front. I don't want to go too high, so I don't want to press too much. Let's see what the front looks like. And that's the front. Right? Don't ever know when a kid's going to walk in. So anyway, back to this. We want to make sure that the small areas are not pressed in, which would be something like this, the eye. But any large area you can, I tell the kids to color. It's kind of you're coloring that space, like a coloring book, like you wouldn't really color the lines. So if it gets a little tight, you use a different tool. Can use a different tool. But it's inevitable that sometimes we're going to press out some of those lines that we didn't want to do. So what you're going to do is flip it over. You're going to use a pointed tool, which these are actually very pointy. I would rather use something a little less. Sometimes they get worn down a little bit, which is kind of nice. Got some very pointy tools here. And you're going to flip it over on the other side, and you would press back in along the original lines. So you get this really sharp image. So just in case anything was pressed out, you can push it back. Okay. That feels pretty good. Now, one thing I do like to do if I have these dots on the border is I'll take one of these tools and I just press. It actually looks like nail heads. And it's really nice for this type of material. I flip it back over, and I want to use one of these tools again around that original line. So I'm pressing back the original line that I had on there in the first place. And you should be able to feel that. So when I get to the part where I antique this, which I use an India ink over the top, the India ink will end up falling into little crevices, which are these original lines that we made. And when we buff, we'll buff off the India ink. The India ink will come off of the top of anything that's raised and this surface.